Well, I'm not sure that there are a lot of houses being built right now. And if you look at some of these economic things, because we relied so much on sales taxes from housing development to fund some things, it's one of the things that has thrown the city for kind of a loop.
The statistic is something like there's a couple. Is it 2,000? Maybe not quite that many. Just new houses that are sitting there.
Oh, and
right
that's
now.
true.
Yeah,
and these are probably all in the pipeline. Of course, it didn't help that the total incompetence of the federal government in dealing, and I'm in particular Alan Greenspan, in basically allowing the subprime, all that kind of stuff was totally foreseeable, known. In fact, they all knew about it or were told about it, and they just did it to keep priming the pump. So we're partly at the mercy of that. But it's also the case that lots of people just figured we had been on a building binge for houses for at least 15 years. And anybody with any intelligence who's serious, and there were people who do have intelligence and look and said, this is probably not going to go on forever. My role and interest in these kind of things is I think a lot of that binge was encouraged by public subsidy of population growth, development, and residences, because the new residences people that are coming in, they're not paying for anything like, they may be paying 10% of the cost of the infrastructure that they're causing to be needed to be built. We need for them to be paying 80%. And by the way, citizens in the last city survey, 2/3 of them said that's exactly what they want. They didn't use my number, but the question was, who should be paying for all of this? The new people and the new businesses. And you'll find in these various things, I took the opportunity when it was offered to lead a committee for the Smart Growth Coalition. It was the Infrastructure Cost Committee. And we documented the cost of infrastructure, say, for each new 3-bedroom house. With inflation since then, 12 components of infrastructure, probably $32,000 a house. And if you don't put that kind of investment in, then you get more crowded schools, more crowded roads, you get worse sewer service, worse stormwater service, worse library service, worse police service. And this is about the infrastructure. It's not for the personnel for these things. And this is what happens when you kick out from a 0.5% population growth to 2 and 3%, and you do not do better planning, so you were building more compactly. We undoubtedly have at least 75 miles too much roads because we just didn't do any controlling of where people build or how much. So now we got to take care of all those things. And in addition to that, we're relying on a mechanism to finance the public infrastructure in the city that was, I think, relatively effective for about 20 years, from 70 to 90, when we were growing at a 0.5% per year. But it is not working now. It has not worked for 15 years, and it won't, and we are getting further and further behind.